hello and welcome to Brains Brawn podcast. I'm Chuck Turay.
I'm Wendy Sloan.
And Brains Brawn is a weekly podcast designed to give you both sides of the story and help you better understand your world. Today we are brought to you by Astute Productions, where ideas take form, and Patriot Focus, turning everyday people into entrepreneurs and helping small businesses grow. So welcome back. Good morning, Wendy.
Hi, good morning.
We're back from, took a week break off. We both kind of had a little vacation going.
Yep, I traveled across the United States from Florida all the way to California.
And I was camping up in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, which was great. So yeah, last time we talked a little bit about you.
And now is your turn.
The love energy thread, and I've been warned that today is my day, so.
How comfortable are you in front of a camera, Chuck?
I'm better behind a camera.
He's a very good editor.
I love filming and editing, and I don't mind necessarily, podcast talking, but.
And the last one that we did, he actually put it up on YouTube, so there was also the visual.
Yep, yeah, that was our first one that's up there. It turned out pretty good. We had a couple of minor interruptions, but I was able to edit them out, so I think it's all right.
And did we have like one of those cat in the window shots where you were able to plug something in?
I just used a fader and tried to find a quiet moment and just faded between the two. So I think you'll be able to notice, but it's not.
And who knows, maybe this is going to happen this episode also, right?
I also have dogs, so I guess you never know.
Yeah, it's true. They might get up and scratch around.
Yeah.
So today is going to be all about you.
Yay.
Me.
Exciting.
Your turn. So why don't you give us a little bit of background? Like, where were you born?
I was born in California. Davis. Well, I grew up in Davis, California, which is right outside of Sacramento. It's like a suburb of Sacramento up in Northern California. Went to school there through high school. Went to college for 2 years in Sacramento and then transferred to Hawaii, where I finished. I did 2 years in Hawaii and got my bachelor's in business administration.
What island in Hawaii?
I lived I lived both on Hilo, which is the Big Island, or in Hilo on the Big Island, and Manoa, which is Oahu, the main island, the tourist.
Yeah, I think that's where I went to.
Yeah, most
Waikiki.
people. Yeah, exactly,
And
Waikiki. So they had it's like a satellite. They split the campuses. So I summered in Oahu, and then I lived primarily on the Big Island. My girlfriend at the time's mom had a house out there, so we had kind of like a place to stay. Which was a cool experience. I think 2 years was plenty. I was ready to come home, but I had a great time. I was very thankful for the experience. It's an interesting place because most people are used to like Waikiki and Hawaii, Maui or whatever, but when you live in the traditional Hawaiian town, it's not really like that. There's still a lot of kind of like animosity over there towards white people. They call us haoles.
Haoles, right?
Which
is there something like this, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a term for it. But
I don't know if it's haole, but it's like a cool sound, like peace.
Yeah. And haole means, I think it's man with no breath or person with no breath or something like that.
Because that's white people hold their breath too much.
I guess when we sailed to the islands, they had a tradition where they would kiss each other and then blow on each other so that they shared the same air. It was some sort of like spiritual thing. But obviously that wasn't this. They didn't have the same culture, so they would do that, and the white person wouldn't.
They'd freak out, or they wouldn't reciprocate.
Or they just wouldn't blow back, and so they thought that white people didn't have breath or air. So
that's
it was
interesting.
So it was an interesting, because now it's a racial slur. It's it's essentially, pick your slur towards any other culture. So they call you, I don't know if we're cussing on this podcast, but they'll be like, effing haoles, get out of here, effing haole. They'll yell at you out your window. Like you'll just be walking down the street and you'll just hear, go home, effing haole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. And
I took a bus all the way around the island when I was in Waikiki, and I felt like a minority because I was, I think, the only white person.
Yeah.
A lot of Asians and people
a
from
lot
the
of Asians
there.
there. Yeah. I went to school with a lot of South Koreans, which were great. Like, they were awesome because I love to play ping pong, and so do they. It's kind of like their culture too. Mm-hmm. So we would always after class we'd go let off some steam and play ping pong up in the rec room and get in some pretty intense battle. I learned a lot about their culture too. A lot of it's
There's a lot of healing. I mean, in massage world, a lot lomi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got their own style of.
They have interesting. They have to when they go to school, they have to serve 2 years in the military. So they're only allowed to go to college, and as soon as they graduate, they have to go home and serve 2 years in the military on the at the DZ on the front line. You know, between North Korea and South Korea.
I see.
Which I didn't know. I thought that was pretty interesting. That they were all getting, we're all getting excited to graduate, towards the end, and then they were all getting bummed out.
Because
and I was like,
you didn't understand why.
it's like, hey, you're happy to graduate or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And like, and then you kind of start talking to me, and realize that
they have another
in a couple of months
do.
they're going to get their diploma, and they're going to be in the military out there.
It's almost, you almost feel like it should be the reverse, because they're spending all the time and effort to educate themselves. Might as well get the military done first, and then educate.
They might be going in as the officers,
Oh, okay, yeah, with education.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
So,
all right, so what else? So then after, how'd you end up back in the United States, the Big Island?
Well, I graduated, and then I came home. I was just there for college. I didn't want to stay there.
And what did you study in college?
Business. I was a business major.
Okay.
And then I came home, and I got a job for this commercial painting company as an office manager. It was this old guy who was running his business off of sticky notes that he was sticking on the wall and stuff. And I guess it was like some sort of connection between my mom's friend, and then this guy was his friend or something like that. And he was looking for a young guy to come in and help him kind of modernize his business. So I went in there, and we bought computers, and we bought printers, and I started just taking sticky notes off the walls and making spreadsheets and stuff like that. It lasted about 8 months, and I was pretty much done with what I was there for. And so this guy started making me like clean toilets and do like ridiculous stuff, and he was a total jerk. Like we didn't he was just a super old school like gritty dude, and he was kind of an ass. So we weren't seeing eye to eye, and then eventually we were like, okay,
well, it's time to go.
Yeah, it was time. Yeah, it was kind of, we both were just like, this is, why are we even doing
Did you like organizing like that, getting his files all in order and that? I mean, you could have had a whole business, right? If you would have gotten some more clients like that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, it wasn't like, it was fine. The worst part about it is I had to wake up at like 4 in the morning because it was a painting company. So like, they're
on the job like probably 6 at
daybreak. Yeah, it was a union. They did big job. I mean, it was commercial painting, so they did like built office buildings and whole like structures and stuff. So like, the crew was all getting together and everything real early, 5 o'clock or whatever, and getting ready to work, and then they would all take off. And I was kind of involved in that process. But then once everyone left, it was kind of just like office work all day, and then, I'm not a big office worker, type of guy, but it was a cool job coming out of college.
All right, so then what did you do after that?
Then I went to a company called Dealer Specialties, which was great because it was a traveling type job.
Okay.
We did online inventory management for car dealerships. Okay. So like if you ever go to autotrader.com or cars.com or anything, you see a picture of a car and you see all the information on the car. Well, we collected that data and posted it for them. So car dealerships contracted us.
I see.
And I was an area manager, so I had from Bakersfield to Oregon, which was, it's half of California. Yeah, in California.
Oh, that's close by LA, right?
Bakersfield's still about 3 hours from LA, or 4 hours from LA. It's right in the middle of California, so it's Bakersfield all the way up to Oregon border. Okay. And I had anywhere from 6 to 8 reps, and they each had 20 to 30 car dealerships that they serviced twice a week. So they'd show up on the lot, and any new cars that had come in since the last time they were there, they would go and take the photo of the car. We had a little computer that we carried around with us, and you just select what options, power steering, CD player, power windows, whatever. Mm-hmm. If it had it, you selected it, and then it printed out that sticker that when you go shop for a car, you see that sticker on the side.
Right, on the side that has all of the different features.
And it'll say, oh, it's got all this stuff on it and the warranty information. And then we took all the photos and then packaged them and sent them to AutoTrader and Cars.com so that you could go view them online.
Okay.
And
so that's probably the information that you have. Like if you type in like a VIN number, all these different companies probably got a hold of what you did, your work, and then it'll tell you all about the car based on the VIN number. Somehow that's in the,
Yeah, you can do that. Like in Kelly Blue Book, we'll do that.
there's a lot of other companies that do
Yeah.
that for.
But it was a cool job though, because it's traveling. Like I
Right.
worked from home. My boss lived in.
Now, you weren't married yet, or did you have a steady girlfriend, or how did that
No,
work?
I was dating my wife now.
Okay.
But it was. I stayed in hotels maybe 2-3 nights a week, and all over California. And I worked from home if I wanted to. My boss was in Oregon, and his boss was in Arizona. And the company headquarters was in Ohio, and the corporate headquarters was in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. So I got to travel to Ohio and Norfolk all the time.
Oh,
You know, for
interesting.
like yearly conferences or whatever.
And this is before I knew you went into the military, correct?
Yeah, this is
all-
before I went in the military.
Any other jobs before you went into the military, or was that the last
No,
one?
that was it.
Okay, so then how did you get, and what branch of service were you in, and what was your decision like to go into the military?
I went in the Army in 2010. In like 2008-ish or something, I started my master's program. So I was working full-time with Dealer Specialties, and I started doing my master's program Monday nights, like 6 to 10. And so I was getting close to the end of that. And that was right around the time the economy started kind of tanking. Or not tanking, but kind of had that, I guess tanking, is
Yeah, yeah. I had a business at that time. Yeah, I kind of tanked.
See, it was weird. I was in a weird spot because I was just out of school. I didn't have any money, and I didn't have like a large amount of money, and I wasn't invested. So the economy tanking was actually good for me because I had a whole bunch of money from Dealer Specialties that I was getting like bonus money and stuff.
Right.
And so the economy tanked, and I started researching what's going on, and it turned out that Ford Motor Company was fine, but their stock was like down to $3. Bank of America, Citibank, all of these companies' stock was down to like $4, and it had come down from like 30. So I started looking at all these companies and being like, okay, well, where are we going from here? Are we going to rebound, or are these companies going to disappear? Like I couldn't imagine Ford and Bank of America disappearing.
Right.
So
did you buy stock?
I took like $10,000 that I had in bonus money, and I put it all into Ford, Bank of America, Citibank. I can't remember. There's a couple other ones. But yeah, I mean, I was buying them at $7, $4, $3, and within a year they were all back up to 12, 15.
Wow.
Which is, so it ended up working all right for me. Which is weird because you don't hear that very often.
Right. All right. So.
So I mean, that was good, but what really the worst part about it was, the way that I saw it kind of gut corporate America.
Right.
Which is they realized that in an economic downturn, even though corporations were making record profits at this time. Like, I don't know if you know that. A lot of people think, oh, the economy was in bad shape. No, corporations were making record profits because they took this downturn as an opportunity to gut the middle class. And like a lot of people don't really understand that. And I watched it happen because they could take somebody like me or my employees and they could say, well, the economy's in bad shape, so we're laying off all of these people. And they could easily get somebody to do the job of the person to their left and their right for the same or less pay because people were freaking out about getting downsized.
Right.
So instead you're making $50,000 and the two people next to you are making $50,000. Well, now they can say, well, hey,
we can only pay 30.
You're desperate. We can only have 1 out of every 3 people stay. So they pick somebody and they go, you can stay, but you have to do John and Sally's job also. So now you're doing $150,000 worth of work for $50,000, or you have to take some sort of cut or a benefits cut or whatever. And people were happy to do it, like 100%. Yeah, absolutely, let's do it because they wanted to keep their jobs.
Right.
And so everyone kind of looked at this like, oh wow, look at all these unemployment rate is skyrocketing, all these people are getting laid off, and really, it was just corporations saving money, and this was a big factor into why they were making these record profits. So you had all these companies that were involved or maybe not involved in tanking the economy in the first place, laying off people.
We're going to have another guest. I just want to interject something here because the same thing happened in South Africa. Dennis Moore, we're going to interview him, and he has a whole story about how similar things happened over in South Africa. Not the story that a lot of people know, but he knows it because he lived through it.
Yeah.
And saw the same thing. Sort of.
Well, it was it's just, I saw the way that it was going. I never really was big on corporate America to begin with. I was always a small business guy. And so I was like, I don't really want to stick around and watch them, dick around with people like this, because they were offering me like promotions and more. I mean, they were offering me all of this stuff, but I was still doing more work. And I was watching the people that were getting affected by it, or and I was just like,
I think the interesting side of that is that a lot of good, capable people lost their jobs, and some people tumbled and fell into depression. But there's other people that took the opportunity, like, oh, wait a second, this could happen. This happened now to me. This could happen in the future. I'm not going to go get another corporate job. I'm going to figure out something on my own. So it's a huge, big entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Which was great, and that's what I liked about it. Like I just took what I ended up doing before I joined the Army. Well, I joined the Army, but with the stipulation that I could finish my master's program.
Okay.
So I signed into the Army, or swore in I think November or December of 2009, but I didn't graduate until May of 2010, which is when I went to basic training. So in the meantime,
it's kind of like you were like the kids in Hawaii the Koreans.
Oh, yeah.
Met, right?
I know. So I'm going to graduate my master's program and go to
you go right
yeah, see, maybe it was subliminal. It got stuck in there.
You never thought of that?
Yeah, no, I never did, actually. But in that meantime, I quit, and I went around to my favorite customers or people that I was really close with at my old job, and I actually stole that business from my job. It was the same thing that entrepreneurs were doing. They were like, okay, well, why work for you? They just took their client list and went home, called their clients, and then stole those customers. So I did the same thing. Because
they're the ones that had the relationship with the clients to begin with anyways.
Yeah.
Not the corporation, right?
So I kind of cut out the reps. Instead of being a manager, I just made myself essentially a worker or a rep. Mm-hmm. But I worked for myself, so I took those clients and I said, hey, you really are only with this company because of me, and because we got, they loved me. So I said, all right, hey, just tell Dealer Specialties you're canceling. I'll come service your accounts twice a week personally. Mm-hmm. Instead of being your manager, I'll be your rep. And they were like, hell yeah, let's do this. So I quit, took all those clients, and just did that, for whatever, 6 or 8 months. That's how I kind of just supplemented my income while I was waiting to go. And then I was doing another thing that I kind of want to get back to. I started a website company called U-Wheels that I still think is a great one. U-Wheels, yeah.
U-Wheels, okay. So it's
basically
U-Wheels?
like Craigslist,
okay,
but just for selling cars, and it's video instead of photos.
Okay.
So the whole website is, if you're selling a car, you can go out with your cell phone or camera, whatever, and take a picture of your car and post it up there for free, just like Craigslist. So there's no money involved.
Okay.
It was just going to be solely like advertising.
Banner ads and things like that.
And people loved the idea, but I just never got any funding, and then I joined the Army, and I gave it to my buddy, kind of like, hey, see what you can do with this while I'm gone, and he never did anything with it. But I still bring it up from time to time to people. And
maybe also a listener.
Yeah. Well, someone stole my website. They bought my domain while I was in the Army. Oh. Because it expired.
It expired and somebody bought it. Yeah.
And I went back to buy it not too long, a couple years ago.
Like 1,000, 2,000, I was like, 10,000. It's ridiculous. But that's some people's businesses. I
know. They probably saw that it had a website attached to it and bought it just in case the person came back or something like that. But anyway, I could come up with another name. But everyone always likes the idea, especially in the auto industry.
And now that you have the drone, you can fly around the car.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not doing the work. It's
the people.
Hell no, yeah. I'm done with that. So yeah, then I joined the Army. I think I joined the Army just because I didn't really know what else to do. I wanted to get out of California. Okay. I wanted to get out of the corporate world. I wanted to get out of California.
Now, with your education, did you go in like at a higher?
Yeah, I went in as an officer.
As an officer, okay.
So, yeah, I think I just kind of wanted to do something meaningful after doing something so unmeaningful for so long, or what I justified my last 6 years or 5 years out of college as being pretty meaningless, I mean, I helped some people out, I guess, sell some cars, which really meant nothing to me internally. Okay. And so, not that I'm like a huge fan of the government or anything, I'm not. I actually just joined the Army because I had a buddy who was in the Army who ended up dying in Iraq. And all he talked about was how shitty the leadership was and how no one gave a crap about the guys. It was always, kind of, yada yada. So anyway, these guys are being I mean, I feel like most of the people, and I found out when I got there, most people that join the military are pretty patriotic, or it's
Right.
either they're very patriotic, or they just don't have any other choice in the world. They're either getting out of going to jail, or they're getting out of a bad family situation, and they're kind of running away, essentially.
Or can't find a job, or just been doing part-time work, and it seems like something a little bit more steady.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Usually that's not the case. Like, that very neutral attitude doesn't exist. It's usually very extreme. You're very like
patriotic, or
like, hell yeah, let's go America, waving flags, you know, like driving big trucks, let's do this, go kill terrorists. Like really people join because they want to kill people.
Okay.
Or they're doing it because they have almost no other option, or they're in a very tough... I had tons of guys that were just like, look, my family life was terrible. My dad beat the shit out of me. As soon as I turned 18, I ran to the recruiter just because I didn't know what else to do.
I see.
You know, it was almost like the two extremes, like very, very positive reasons or very, very negative reasons. But usually I didn't really know what to do, so I just decided to join the military. Like, it's not that common, which I thought was weird. So
because maybe those people have an option of just like loafing around at home, and mom and dad will take care of them.
it makes for a very interesting work environment.
All right, and as being an officer, those are like your employees, right?
When you have a very gung-ho force that's like, go, let's do this, and then you have other people that are like, they honestly don't want to be there. It was just they were running away or whatever. So when you're telling them to do something, like they could care less. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to like mesh the two worlds, and they end up working out pretty well together. But the whole point of this story anyway is, you know, like those guys are there and they're stuck, they're in a contract, there's nothing they can do about it. So like I wanted to go there and kind of do my part for them, you know, because I really admire what they're doing. So I feel like if I could make a difference in a few people's lives by being, you know, a positive role model, or being someone who actually cared about them and not about my own career or anything like that, because I didn't care about my career at all. I joined the Army, I was going to do my time, and then if I still liked it I would stay in, if I didn't I would leave.
So you did it more to be a good leader and to...
Yeah, and for the experience, I mean, personally, it was a great experience for me.
So that was like 2010, and how long were you in?
I was in for like a little over 5 years.
5 years, yeah. Okay.
And,
did you have to renew? Was it like...
No, that was my contract.
Oh, 5 years?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm still contracted in the inactive reserve until I think 2017 or 18, something like that, but I don't have to do anything.
Okay.
And they can call me back. I'm an officer, so they can call me back anytime for the rest of my life. Like if we went to World War III or some crazy thing happened, they could call me back anytime they wanted. But I don't have any like yearly or weekly or obligations
to do anything.
Yeah.
And is that how you chose your name of your company, Patriot Focus? Is that has something to do with the...
Yeah, so Patriot Focus, I bought that domain name when I was still in the Army. Okay. And I wanted to do, you know, something with photography, editing, drones, but I wanted to also focus on small business. So it was kind of like, in my mind, small business is the backbone, is the heart of the country. You know, like small businesses. I'm a very big believer in small business and not corporate business, and so the Patriot Focus was kind of like, you know, the Patriot being the country and focusing on, you know, what's important about our country, and kind of a dual, you know, the focus being the film, you know, film aspect. So the focus kind of works both ways.
All right.
You know, drone focus, video focus, and then, so it was kind of like focusing on the backbone of the country, and, you know, maybe...
Because I was going to ask you, what does being patriotic mean to you?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, patriotic to me is just, like me, when I feel patriotic, I feel like I strongly believe in like what our founders came here for. They came to run away from taxation without representation, which we got ourselves right back into. And they came to run away from, you know, all these like religious persecutions. They came to get away from tyranny, you know, the control over the big banks, and live, you know, with freedom. So, you know, if you look at the Constitution they drew up, it was written for a free society where every tax that we pay is apportioned. We know what we're paying for, which we don't anymore. We pay federal taxes, and they don't tell us where they tell us like kind of where they're going, but you don't know where every dollar is going to, which is illegal by the 16th Amendment, which was never ratified. So like when I get very patriotic when I think about what we're supposed to be.
So fairness, yeah, right, fairness.
Well, and the idea of freedom, which is a joke at this point. We have probably one of the least free countries in this entire world. Yet we hide behind this flag of freedom, where the land of the free. It's a joke. So patriotism to me is usually trying to focus on the little guy, which is how it's always been, right? The American dream.
Right.
Start your business, your corner store, and work your way up. Whatever, hard work gets you something, which I totally believe in. And so I'm always trying to help people break out of this concept of indentured slavery, basically, which is I'll give you 8 hours of my day if you give me this amount of money.
And then this amount of money produces or pays for this type of lifestyle.
Yeah, it's slavery. And then they say, okay, I own you now for this time. You have to be here. You have to be in this location. And at this time you can go here, and at this time you have to be back. And you have to sit in this box. You have to do those things because I'm paying you. That, to me, is insanity. Like, that is absolute insanity. So like my patriot focus is like, hey, like, get out of that. Like, you have thoughts and ideas that are valuable, so let's foster them. Or like, where do you want to put them? Let's build something for yourself. Right. And that's kind of like
create.
Yeah.
Right. Don't destroy. Create.
Exactly. Yeah.
Focus on what you do want.
Sitting in a cubicle is destructive to yourself and to everyone around you. And then we feel like, oh, well, it builds the economy to have workers. Well, you know what? If you don't go to work and don't go do that job, they'll find a robot that can do it easily. If people just stop doing it, they will figure out a way for a machine to do it. They don't want to figure out a way for a machine to do it right now, because then people will freak out and say they're getting fired from their jobs, and then people will be mad. But if we just leave voluntarily, trust me, the technology is there. We can do anything you're doing at your desk can be done by a computer. They just don't want that riot on the, you see every time GM just lays off X amount of people and then they riot in the streets. So, your local, whatever, paper factory with your 12,000 employees sitting in cubicles, if you just lay them all off, they're going to be rioting in the streets. They don't want that.
Right. So then let's segue into your other company, Higher Up.
So Patriot Focus owns Higher Up and the David business, which are like two different functions.
Okay, so tell us about each of those.
So Higher Up is our app, which is just being beta tested now, which is a way to get people who have, skilled labor skills, or blue collar or white collar. You can find daily work quickly. So like it uses a map function, kind of like Uber, and you can go on there as an employer. Excuse me. And you can find, a painter, you can find a roofer, you can find a bartender, a waitress, whatever it is. If you need for the work for today, you go on there, you can search. They have a profile, so you can see
like
star
Angie's
rating.
List, or what's the difference between that and
So Angie's List is directed solely at finding professional companies.
Oh, okay.
So I need, if you want a professional plumber because your house is flooding, you might want the best plumber out there, and that's what Angie's List does. Because it finds you companies like, Chuck's Plumbing or whatever. But we find you Chuck, because
the individual that actually does the work.
Yeah.
So then you're kind of like, is it less money than for the homeowner because they're not paying half?
If you need someone to come mow your lawn, you can go on there, and it's like basically finding a neighbor, because it'll show you everyone that's in the area that has those skills. So when you sign up with an account, you put in there, I'm a gardener, or I'm a plumber, or whatever, and you list what you've done in the past.
So it could also be like a disruptor, just like the taxi cab companies kind of got disrupted a little bit their game with the Uber, correct?
Yeah, so that's the goal. It's kind of a mix between Craigslist and Uber. It's bringing Craigslist. Craigslist is great because it's free, and you can go on there and offer services, and people can look for services, and it's great, except it's anonymous. So you don't really know who that person is. They can go on there and say, I've been cutting lawns for 10 years, I'm the best ever, and you could really have done none of that. And someone goes, wow, that sounds great, and they hire him, and he comes over and he mows your lawn. And who knows, he does a good job or a bad job, you don't know. So with our app, they have a picture, they have your face, they have a star rating, and then every time they finish, they have to be reviewed. So you have to give them a star rating and say something about them. So when you click on their little icon on the map, you can say, oh, this guy says he's a top-rated gardener or whatever, and then what does it say? Well, he's a 3-star guy, said he's lazy, didn't do a good job, blah, blah, blah. Or it says, hey, this guy was awesome. Like, blah, blah, blah. So, okay. So then you can just hire him. You can have him come over to your house, but it's really, if you're doing...
And so our audience can check that app out at www.hireup.com?
Yeah, you can go to the App Store and type in Hire Up, or you can go to the website, which is hireupapp.com or findworkquick.com. And
there's an app. So you can just go to the App Store. That's great.
Yeah, that's why it is an app.
App.
Yeah, that's what it is. And the website will just redirect you to iTunes or Android. You can do it on Android or Apple.
And then the other business, the David business, what is that one?
The David business is a business I use to help small businesses with like websites and stuff, kind of like what we started doing.
Right. And he also helped one of my friends who's a speaker doing some video editing. I guess we're doing that as Astute Productions. Astute Productions.
So the David business was kind of a play on words. The David business being David versus Goliath, the small business that. Kind of trying to compete with a large business with a larger budget.
A little David,
Yeah, exactly. The picture is like a small guy in a business suit looking up at a big guy in a business suit,
Okay.
And like my logo is a slingshot and says "Throw the rock." So it's kind of like I try to just help people with smaller budgets. You're not going to be able to do as much, as a bigger business with a bigger budget. But what I try to do is give people like relative skills like WordPress skills or social media skills, help them with social media, and kind of get them to a point where if they know nothing about this kind of stuff, they can at least do some of it for themselves. Because most small business owners are extremely driven, and they work long hours, or they want to be able to do as much as they can. But technology is kind of in a point where you still, it's still not saturated yet throughout the population. So there's still a fair amount of people that grew up without it. Like even myself, I didn't have the internet until I was maybe 21, I think. Maybe 20, 19, 20, 21, the internet was kind of like a thing in my life.
Right.
But then you look at my brother, he had internet in his life maybe when he was 12 or 13, and then like my daughter will have internet for, from 0 for her whole life. So, we're slowly kind of like saturating the market of who's comfortable with the internet. And then so, I'm only 35, so there's plenty of people out there that are older than me that didn't have internet or didn't know anything about anything until they were 30 or 40 or whatever.
So those people need a little bit of help, bridging. They've got great ideas, but then the technology or how they put it out to the world has changed, so they need somebody to come in and help.
It started out with them. It started out with them being kind of like negative. Oh, I don't need that. I've been doing business for 20 years and blah blah. So you get a lot of that kind of closed-mindedness, which is normal with almost any sort of paradigm shift. Now it's getting to the point where people are kind of like accepting it.
Right.
But they've spent the last years being a curmudgeon instead of embracing it. They've been kind of a curmudgeon about it. So now they're like, okay.
I like that word, curmudgeon, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Whenever I hear anyone say that, I don't need that, I'm like, okay, like that's...
Well, that happened along my trip when I was traveling to California. I did some video interviews with my iPhone, which we'll edit and put up.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a little bit of resistance. It's like, well, that's how things are done nowadays.
Yeah.
People want to see it. They don't have time always to read.
There's still some of that out there, but it's getting less and less, which is good. But that's just normal. Whenever anything new happens, you're going to have those people that do it, and then you're going to have
quick embracers. And
so you're going to have a small portion that are never going to. They're always going to, because they're too prideful. They're going to think they're right. So they're going to die.
It's a dumb idea. I swear, it's a dumb idea.
They're going to die in 2040 still thinking that the internet's not important, or whatever. So you're, okay, fine, don't worry about them. But the biggest population of people are people that are going to be hesitant, and they're going to ride that wave, and then essentially they're going to go, oh crap, I was wrong. And they were wrong, which is fine. It's okay to be wrong. And then they're going to go, okay, now help.
Yeah.
Now how do I catch up? Because they're already behind.
Yeah.
And then there's very few people who are you want to call them smart, but it's just, I don't call them smart, it's just, they got lucky or whatever, because most people are kind of hesitant, but some people will see something new and
they jump on it.
Hey, teach me how to do that, blah, blah, blah. which I've always kind of like, I've always kind of been kind of like that, where I'm like, what is this, blah, 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 and then everyone's like, oh, that's stupid. I'm like, well, let me find out, and then I'll find out if it's stupid. Like, you're not going to tell me, you know, or if it's
And
stupid.
nowadays, it's so helpful just with all the help that we get from other people that film and put their knowledge on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You don't know anything, like Google or let's go on YouTube and see.
YouTube is great.
You know, we thank all of you people.
Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of what I do is these people that are like, okay, I need to catch up now. I maybe I didn't ride the wave early enough or whatever. Then
And sometimes it's a matter of money too. It's like people know that they should be doing something, but yet then they don't have the funds to pay somebody, and so they think they can do everything themselves, and then they're lag even further behind.
Which is why I try to do it. I mean, I do everything for pretty cheap. I charge like $25, $30 an hour, but I actually teach people. Well, I like to teach people how to do the skills for themselves, so they don't have to keep paying me.
Right.
Or I try to like phase myself out of certain things. Like maybe there's some things that they're never gonna get, and they can just call me whenever they need help, and it's not that big of a deal. But you know, I try to make it like I can't run everybody's website. I can't be like, you know, I can't be doing all these things for all of these people. So that's why I try to teach them these little things. Like, okay, you can do this, and they're all really easy. And that's the thing is people just kind of get scared of it. But once you get walked through it, they realize, oh, well, yeah, I can do this. Like I was helping this guy with a horse racing website. The guy's like, I think he's probably like 60, 65 years old. And he was real like timid about everything. Now, I mean, the guy runs almost his entire website. It's WordPress, you know, super easy to use. He's writing posts. He's putting in banner ads. He's got a link to another blog site. Like he's doing all this stuff because I just taught him how it works, the foundation. And now, I mean, they've got, you know, he's trucking along. He calls me probably once every 2 weeks, like, hey, I got a problem I'm trying to do, you know, whatever. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's no big deal. I understand. Just go here and here. And he'll be like, okay, got it. See ya. That's it. Right. So that's our relationship now. Is he calls me every once in a while, you know, for some little WordPress.
All right, so can we segue into another question I have for you?
Okay.
So you're busy with these different companies. How does this fit into your family life? Or how does that work for you?
Well, I mean, I just work from home. My wife works full time.
Okay.
And my daughter has preschool 3 days a week. And on the day she doesn't have preschool, you know, she gives me a few hours in the morning. She just plays by herself, and then I do something with her for lunch, and then she takes a nap. So it's like, there's really no snag at this point yet. Okay. Because I do most of the stuff from home.
Great. You can say stay-at-home dad, but not really. It's not like you're just baking cookies all the time.
Yeah.
Do you ever bake cookies?
No.
All right, so it works really well.
Once I have to start going out of the house more, you know, it can be, you know, there's a little more planning involved. Like I've flown some drones for some real estate agents, but I just work around Olivia's, you know, when I drop her off at preschool, I go fly the drone and take some photos, you know, and then come back and pick her up. It hasn't been a big deal. Okay. I think once this app gets into beta testing more, I'll be out of the house a lot more. But again, Olivia's great. I'll just give her iPad and she can sit there while I talk to people. You know, she'll do her own thing. Like if I tell her like, hey, I'm working, you know, you need to do something, whatever, she will. So.
Well, you know, I did your soul chart for you. Remember we talked about that? Yeah. It was interesting. There's a few components that you mentioned that I can kind of like segue into the chart.
Okay.
So you are an old soul. So
nice.
This is based on the Michael teachings. You can Google that. The Michael teachings.
So I was right. Wow, I called it.
Yeah. And so I use a pendulum and I have charts to figure this out. And you're in your 5th cycle. There's 5 different soul ages. You have the infant, the baby, the young, the mature, and the old. Okay. So, infant energy is more like Aborigines or people that are very spiritual and down to earth. Mm-hmm. The baby soul energy is more about rules and regulations. More black and white, like our institutions came out of that. Okay. And the young soul is more about how things look. Our culture is young soul. Mature souls are more about relationships. How can we all get along? Mm-hmm. We're kind of, as a culture, being forced to move into that because we just have one planet. Right. We have to get along. Yeah. And old souls, very spiritual in nature. But because of that, they can be almost like hermits because been there, done that. And sometimes they don't want to participate in some of the craziness of the younger souls. Yeah. So you went through that process. 4 complete times and cycled off, and you're back for your 5th cycle. So
nice.
And each soul age has a level, so you're in your 4th level.
Out of how many?
There's 7 levels for each soul age. So to complete a cycle, according to this teaching, it's anywhere from 50 to 300 lifetimes.
Oh my god.
So yeah.
So what I've lived.
So
wait, 50 to 300.
So let's say on the high, because let's say just
It's like 400.
Yeah, well, you could say all of your lifetimes could be about 1,500.
Dang.
In one form, yeah, you've been around. So if you have some deja vu experiences,
Yeah. Wow. Good for me.
But isn't it kind of funny though that technology and everything changes? You as Chuck here in this lifetime, this is totally new and unique.
Yeah, it's true.
Because there's different, factors.
Right.
Where you chose to live, who you chose to associate, marry,
right.
and different jobs that you have. It all combines, and so you have a lot of resources hidden within you, though, of knowledge that you can kind of tap into. I mean, the quantum physics people would say that everything is all happening now, anyways.
Right.
You're just not aware of all those other past lives and future lives.
Yeah, but they also say that time isn't like one-dimensional like we think it is too.
Right, it's just here.
Quantum physics is a pretty interesting topic.
Hey, that could be another podcast. Let's write that one down.
Yeah.
Quantum physics. Yeah, I Gary Zukov, the Dance of the Wuling Masters. That was one of my little primers about 10 years ago.
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
I love watching videos on quantum physics on YouTube because it's one of those things where it's like super cool to think about, but also like is so far over your head. It's like almost impossible to grasp.
And maybe in another podcast, I'll talk about the book, The Fabric of Reality, and my
we should find the author, see if he'll come on.
David Dusch, I think was his name. Maybe I'm saying Deutsch. Maybe I'm saying his name wrong. Or maybe I don't even have the author's name right. But the book was.
I don't want to call him that. But
All right, so now your role for all the lifetimes in this cycle, you're the same role, and everything else is you today as Chuck. So your role going through all these, 50 to 300 lifetimes is that of a sage. So the positive part of a sage is to disseminate information.
Okay.
And then the negative, see how there's a negative, is verbosity, meaning like if you talk too much.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So when you're leading from the soul, you give out information. Now, I put ET here standing for essence twin, and that is your strongest soul relationship. It's like for this whole cycle, you and a buddy, you incarnate a lot of times around the same time, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a person that you have to marry or twin flame or anything like that.
Right.
It's just that energetically you're like mirrors for each other. And it's like in kindergarten, kids go down the hall and they hold hands walking down the hallway. You kind of look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, but because this soul's role is that of a priest, and you have all these lifetimes together, it's a very strong imprint on you. It's just like when you're married or you have a best friend, sometimes you have the same mannerisms, you have the same, share the same jokes, there's, an energy rub off. So this is important to know that your essence twin is that of a priest. And I feel that energy coming off you all the time. The positive part of a priest is compassion, and the negative is zeal, like too gung-ho about something. So,
It seems a lot like my buddy who died in Iraq. We were like best buds. And, like he felt a lot like that. And he was Catholic too, which was funny. But he was like religious and I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know who that would be now.
All right, so we can check in with that at another time. Now, so everything else here is for this lifetime here now. Your goal this lifetime is that of growth. So the positive part of that is evolution. You get to change and learn things. And the negative part is confusion. Because like when you're growing, sometimes then you're not sure about things and you can, get stuck there in that confusion. That makes
perfect sense, yeah.
Really? Does it?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay. And then the mode of operation, how you do that is through observation. So the positive part of that is you get clarity about things, and the negative part of that is surveillance, like never being able to make a decision. Kind of you feel confused and then just like always looking what's next. And actually, that's my we share that.
Oh, really? Nice.
And the next one we share too. The attitude is that of a spiritualist. So the positive part of a spiritualist is like verification, meaning like everything can go. Like if somebody says, well, I can go with you later, but I need to do this and this. And your head is like, all right, you know that they're going to do that and that, what they have to get done, and then you're going to go and do what you need to go do.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes in your head you can envision something, and you think everybody is on the same page with you.
Yeah.
I get that.
I do that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I didn't communicate that to
you guys didn't know that?
Yeah. You didn't see that vision that
My
I had?
wife's like that, too.
And then chief feature, this is children under the age of 12 don't have a chief feature. This is what you get imprinted from your caretakers and from your family.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like your obstacle to overcome.
Okay.
And that is, yours is arrogance.
Okay.
Now, the positive part of that is pride, like pride in your work, pride in appearance, home. The negative part of that is vanity.
Okay.
So I don't know how your parents molded that. Mine is that of greed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes like in some families maybe that there's certain rules, and as long as you do these rules, or then you get praise. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know. I was an only child for a long time, so maybe that had something to do with it.
So all your toys had to be lined up.
I thought I was the king of the world.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm the best.
Yeah. My brother's like 8 years younger than me, so.
Oh, so you were the king of the world for a long time.
So makes sense.
And now center. This is how we center ourselves, either intellectually, emotionally, or moving. And the way I explain this is that if we're sitting at a restaurant and we look out the window and there's a car accident, an emotional person, well, let's say an intellectual person would be like, that SUV didn't stop at the stop sign, it plowed right into that van. Whereas an emotional person would be like, oh my God, there's an accident, I hope nobody's hurt, I hope there's no kids in there. Whereas a moving person would already be out the restaurant, pulling the bodies out of the car, calling 911.
Right.
And it's not like we get stuck in one, but knowing how you center yourself, and then those that you live with centers yourself, is important. So what I picked up from you is that first you're intellectual, and then you allow yourself to feel. And then, of course, then you probably move.
Right.
But let's say if you're with a totally emotional person, they're like crying and upset, and you're like, it's not that difficult. All you need to do is do this and this and this, and everything will be fine. And so you can be annoying to those people. And
me and my wife literally went to marriage counseling for that exact reason.
Really?
Yes. I mean, this was before we got married, and that was like the biggest thing was that, being emotionally available, because, my wife would have like an issue and I'd be like, okay, so then this is the fit, do this, and this. And she's like, this is not what I need from you. And I was like,
I think we talked about that too, right? Yeah, we did. I think in the first podcast.
Like I want to fix everything or whatever. And I think in the first episode we talked about how I had to learn to just be like, okay, yeah, I get it. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
It sucks.
I feel terrible. This sucks.
Yeah.
When really in my head I'm going, well, if she would just do this and this and this, then she could do this.
Or why are you whining about it? Just go move and fix it.
Yeah. And I'm like that with my daughter too sometimes, where, she'll be like crying when my balloon popped or whatever, and be like, okay, well, we'll get another one someday.
That's not what she wants to hear. But it's broke now.
Instead of like, I'm sorry that your balloon is broken and you're having an emotional attachment to this balloon, that we need to like mend this first before
we need to have a little ceremony.
I'm just gonna like stop crying. We'll get another balloon later. What do you want me to do about it?
So now you're more aware of that.
Yeah, I try to do.
Okay. And then body types. You have the influence of Mercury and Mars. So agile and wiry, and the negative is nervous and impulsive. So So it's very interesting. You have a lot of marks under inspiration and expression. Mm-hmm. So what you don't have a whole lot is in the action. Mm. So like with work, sometimes getting other people maybe to help you to take action, or realizing that, all right, I can think and I can express, but then I got to do the work. I got to.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
So, all right. So you can keep this. You can tuck it away somewhere.
I'll show my wife. She'll have a kick at it.
Do you think it kind of nailed you?
Yeah. No, I think it was good. That's crazy. How do you do this?
I guess that could be a whole other podcast.
You do this at home without me?
Yeah, I did it. I did it with the charts I have, and with the pendulum.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yep. It's a skill that you can learn.
So you're not just guessing on here?
No. But in some ways, we, especially old souls, I mean, we're all a little bit of everything.
Right.
You know, and it's what the proclivities, the energy. It's like astrology. It's like the Enneagram. It's not like written stone.
Right.
Because we're multi-dimensional.
Sure.
Pull in what we need when we need it.
We're kind of the sum of all parts, whatever. Sum of all.
So
beings.
let's have any closing thoughts from today. Anything else that you want to tell us about you, or to wrap it up?
No. I talked enough about myself already.
For Sage, right?
I know it seems like I like to talk about myself, but I don't.
But you like to talk about ideas.
I do. And thoughts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's fine. I think it was great. If
when I noticed when you were talking about the military that
Yeah.
you wanted to be a good leader, to me that was like very priest-like energy. You know, and even Sage, you know, to disseminate the information, like so
Right.
that you were there for people. So now he's going forward for entrepreneurs and business people, and that's where we both share an alliance with that.
Yeah, just kind of a
Freedom
disseminator. Like, here's the information that I've spent time collecting. Here it is. Yeah, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did a lot of that in the military. Was taking orders from someone, and then it's all about how you disseminate it, because usually it's not always good information, that you have to get the information out, and people are going to be pissed. So it's good to be able to ease the blow somehow, or have some control over how we get things done, or you can actually kind of like tweak it so that we're doing it a little more lightly than maybe we're supposed to. So I think it worked out. It was a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
But
So,
yeah.
where can people find you again to connect with you?
So Higher Up app, you can download it on the Apple Store or Android. What is it? The Google Play Store. You can find if you want more information on it, it's higherupapp.com and findaworkquick.com. Also thedavidbusiness.com and patriotfocus.com, which is just going to be a conglomerate, to take you to each place.
Okay, and so my main website is astuteproductions.com and theloveenergythread.com.
You can get the Love Energy Thread at amazon.com.
Yeah, you can get the book. I'm starting to work on book 2 on
Nice.
community.
There we go.
Yep.
So we'll have things
Bye
to look
for now.
forward to.
And we're going to be interviewing, coming up in our interview, we're going to be interviewing Julie California, who is a person that is very knowledgeable about multi-level marketing.
Awesome.
She does isogenics products.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll
Bye.
see you next week.
Bye for now.